We are live streaming.
Good to go.
Yes.
Call the meeting to order. Dan, would you please do roll call?
Councilmember Burkhart.
Here.
Councilmember Dickman.
Here.
Councilmember Leary.
Here.
Councilmember Mazer.
Here.
Supervisor Rufino.
Here. Dan, you have the pledge and invocation?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Please remain standing.
Easter and Passover brings us a sense of renewal. It is a time to banish doubts and seek the slopes where the sun is shining, to revel in the faith which transports us out of ourselves and the dead past into the vast and inviting unknown. May we stay safe and healthy this season. Thank you.
Tonight's agenda, we have 17 pre-filed resolutions, no suspended resolutions. We'll have 3 public hearings beginning at 7:15, 1 executive session to discuss collective bargaining negotiations. Tonight, very, very sad to report that we, in closing memory, we have 3 people, one being one of our own officers, Officer Ronald W. Smith. We also have Donald Babcock Sr. and Dolores Needham. At this time, I'd like to invite Chief Karn up here. He'd like to say a few words about Officer Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just real quick, I know the board members are aware of this, but we lost an officer, a member of the Town of Lancaster Police Department. He was a member for 14 years, passed away on April 6th after a lengthy battle with cancer. Ron Smith, member of the Army Airborne before he joined our department for 20 years. He was deployed throughout the world, a lot of really nasty places. He never liked to talk about it, never thought of himself as a hero, but he was a hero to a lot of us. He served this town and his nation with dedication and integrity. I was very proud of him, very proud of his service, and I think the members of this community can be very proud that we have people like that that are willing to step forward and serve, at great sacrifice to themselves and their families. His whole career he worked midnights. He was the guy who would get called for the suspicious vehicle. A lot of the reports you read in our hotels, people know all about our hotels on Freeman Drive. A lot of those arrests were his arrests. He was up there checking on suspicious people at 2 in the morning. He was the one that if you saw somebody walking down your street at, 3 a.m. would come out and check them out. That's just who he was. He was a very dedicated officer, and we're very sad for his loss, and, we feel heartbroken for his family. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he had really 2 careers. He had a military career and then went on to be a police. So he really served a lot to our nation. So, thank you for his service. Okay, at this point, I'll ask anybody that would like to talk to the town board about the 17 pre-filed resolutions. Just come up and state your name and give your address. And I'll ask again for a 3rd time. Very good. Okay, we're going to move on to official reports.
Dog control state will be coming in on Wednesday for inspection. So we'll update after they come in.
Anything else from anybody? I have a couple things. First off, I was fortunate enough to be invited to be the guest speaker giving the state of towns at the Chamber of Commerce held a meeting. So all the information was posted. I used my editorial in the Bee to give all the information, the updates about what was going on in town. So it's really, really nice event attended by, I don't know, quite a few people. It was nice. Also Saturday, April 30th at Westwood, it will be our Arbor Day celebration day. Registration at the pavilion begins at 9:30 to 10. The program begins at 10 o'clock. Refreshments immediately following. It's a nice little event that they always have done. Well attended, and it really teaches our kids a little bit about the beauty of trees. Also, Lieutenant Colonel Matt Irvin, VFW Post, is having a spaghetti dinner on Sunday, April 24th, 12 p.m. until sold out. And that's it. Okay, we're going to move on to resolutions. I'd like to move resolution number 1. And this resolved that minutes of the regular meeting of the town board held April 4th, 2022 be and hereby approved. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 2. This is all the following audit claims being hereby ordered paid from the respective accounts as per action to be filed in the office of the town clerk by the assistant to the supervisor. It's check run number 04182022. Total amount hereby authorized to be paid is $1,006,094.80. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Macer, you have number 3?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution, move for its adoption. Be it resolved that the following building permit applications being hereby reaffirmed. There were a total of 87 permits, 15 in the village and 72 in the town. I can break them down real fast. In the town, 11 fences, 13 roofs, 13 generators, 8 single-family dwellings, 4 residential alterations, 4 pools, 8 sheds, 2 decks, 1 spa, 5 porch covers, 1 fireplace, and 2 commercial alterations. And in the village, there was 5 roofs, 2 fences, 1 dumpster, 1 sign, 1 pool, 1 demolition, and 4 residential alterations. And we had 10 other complaints filed at the building department. Be it further resolved, the building permit applications hearing coded CSW for conditional sidewalk waiver being hereby reaffirmed with a waiver of the town ordinance required for sidewalks. However, the waiver is granted upon the express condition that the town of Lancaster at any future date reserves the right to order sidewalk installation at the expense of the property.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. So it seems like our numbers are going up in the permits, and it's kind of a good sign because possibly, we start to see materials come in. Hopefully we'll start seeing a reduction in cost of some of these materials as we move forward. Councilmember Burkhart, number 4, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members. I'm offering resolution number 4 for adoption. Whereas the Town Line Volunteer Fire Department, Inc., by letter dated April 4th, 2022, has requested the addition of 3 members to the roster of said fire association. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby confirms the additions to the membership of the Town Line Volunteer Fire Department, the following individuals: Gene Brockner, William McPeak, and Kevin Budzak.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Mazer, number 5, please.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas the Town Board is considering the approval of a proposed construction of a shop and storage site to include 13 storage unit buildings, a storage office building, and 4 warehouse shop office buildings with 43 parking spaces submitted by Christopher Wood, P.E., on behalf of Donato Homes Incorporated to be located on a 42-acre parcel at 5841 Genesee Street in the town of Lancaster. And whereas the town of Lancaster Planning Board has reviewed the environmental impact of this project pursuant to seeker regulations at their meeting on January 19, 2022, and per comments contained in New York State Department of Conservation response letter dated December 28, 2021, have recommended that the conditional negative declaration be issued. And whereas the town board has duly considered the plans for the construction project using the short environmental assessment form, the criteria for determining significance set forth in the seeker regulations, and such other information deemed appropriate, including the recommendation of the town of Lancaster Planning Board. And whereas the town board has identified the relevant areas of environmental concern, has taken a hard look at these areas, has made a reasonable elaboration of the basis for its determination, and whereas the proposed action has been labeled an unlisted action under seeker. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of Lancaster, that, number 1, the project is described as a construction of a shop and storage site to include 13 storage buildings, a storage office building, and 4 buildings with 43 parking spaces submitted by Christopher Ward on behalf of Donato Incorporated to be located on a 42.6-acre parcel at 5841 Genesee Street will not result in any large or important impacts and therefore it is an action that which is not have significant adverse impact on the environment, and therefore the board issues the attached condition negative declaration of environmental significance for the reasons stated therein. 2, the town clerk shall file a copy of the condition negative declaration in the file for the project. 3, the town attorney's office shall prepare and file a notice of determination of non-significance with the petitioner and with all required New York State and Erie County agencies, filing a copy of the letter of transmittal. And number 4, this resolution is effective immediately.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Burkhart, number 6, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members. I'm offering resolution number 6 for adoption. Whereas in cooperation with the Erie County Shared Service Plan, Highway Superintendent by letter dated March 25th, 2022, has requested that the town enter into the Erie County, New York Intermunicipal Highway Shared Service Agreement, August 2021, and whereas the agreement would allow municipalities that entered into it to share highway services, tools, machinery, and equipment with or without operators among themselves to maximize services provided in a more cost-effective manner. And whereas there is no cost associated with participation in this agreement, and it will remain in effect until terminated by the town of Lancaster. Now, there it be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby approves the Erie County, New York Intermunicipal Highway Shared Services Agreement, August 2021, as presented, authorizing the highway superintendent to share highway services, tools, machinery, and equipment with or without operators, which will provide a cost savings by maximizing the effective utilization of all parties' resources, and be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute this agreement, which will remain in effect until the town of Lancaster decides to terminate its participation.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. We're going to break for our public hearings. 30 seconds. I guess I could motion to open it. All right. Can I have a motion to open public hearing number 1, which is for the flood damage prevention?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll read the notes. Legal notice hereby given that pursuant to the municipal home rule law of the state of New York and Chapter 23 of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, and pursuant to a resolution of the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster adopted April 4th, 2022, the said Town Board will hold a public hearing on the 18th day of April 2022 at 7:15 for the purposes of considering and possibly adopting a local law to amend the Town of Lancaster's Town Code by repealing in its entirety the current Chapter 182 flood damage prevention, replacing it with a newly revised Chapter 182 flood damage prevention in order to comply with New York State requirements. Copies of the proposed local law can be reviewed at Lancaster Town Hall here at 21 Central Avenue during normal business hours and on the town's website. All interested members of the public shall be heard. So with that, I'll open it up. Anybody would like to question on public hearing number 1? I'll ask for a second time and a third time. Thank you. I'll ask for a motion to close public hearing number 1.
Motion to close.
May I have a second?
Second.
All right, we're going to move on to number 2. We have a motion to open public hearing number 2, which is partial exemption taxation. Do we motion?
I'll make a motion.
May I have a second?
I'll second. Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Second.
Legal notice is hereby given that pursuant to Section 467 of the Real Property Tax Law and a resolution of the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster adopted on the 4th day of April 2022, said Town Board will hold a public hearing on the 18th day of April 2022 at 7:15 p.m. Here at 21 Central Avenue to hear all interested persons upon the proposed resolution authorization of partial exemption from real property taxation for persons 65 years of age and older on a graduated scale based upon income. Copies of the proposed resolution can be reviewed at Lancaster Town Hall here at 21 Central Avenue during normal business hours. Anybody like to speak about public hearing number 2? I'll ask for a second time and a third time. May I have a motion to close public hearing number 2?
Motion to close.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, may I have a motion to open public hearing number 3, which has to do with the LL site plan review procedures?
Motion open.
Second?
Second.
Okay. I'll read the public notice. Legal notice is hereby given that pursuant to the municipal home rule law of the state of New York and Chapter 23 of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, and pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster on April 4th, 2022, the Town Board will hold a public hearing on the 18th day of April 2022 at 7:15 p.m. For the purpose of considering and possibly adopting a local law to amend the town code of the town of Chapter 400 zoning, Article 14, administration and enforcement, site plan review procedures. Anybody like to speak about public hearing number 3? Now I'll ask for a second time and a third time. May I have a motion to close public hearing number 3?
Motion to close.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. We're going to resume with our resolutions. I believe we left off at number
7.
6 or 7?
Seven seconds.
Okay, so 7.
Yep.
Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas the Town of Lancaster's band shell located at 100 Oxford Avenue is used to provide community enjoyment by allowing various outdoor performances and events to be held there. Whereas by letter dated March 29th, 2022, Deputy Highway Superintendent Michelle Barbero is requesting that the Town of Lancaster hire Hit and Run, West of the Mark, and Busted Stuff to perform at the Lancaster Band Shell during the summer of 2022 for a total amount not to exceed $3,000. And whereas the above-named bands are under contract with Tom McGill Starstruck Productions, and whereas the agreement and required insurance information has been reviewed and approved by the Town Attorney's Office, and whereas the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster has determined the community would be enjoying having these bands perform, now therefore it be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby authorizes the Supervisor of the Town of Lancaster to execute the contract as presented with Tom McGill Starstruck Productions for the following performances to occur tentatively on the following dates from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. during the 2022 concert series at the band shell located at 100 Oxford Avenue. Number 1, Hit and Run on June 22nd, 2022. 2, West of the Mark, July 13th, 2022. And 3, Busted Stuff, August 3rd, 2022. And be it further resolved, the cost will not exceed $3,000, which will be paid based on the terms and conditions contained in the contract and with funds available in the town's 2022 Playgrounds, Recreation, Contractual Expenses, Special Celebrations budget line, item 01-7140-0415.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd like to move resolution 8. This resolves that Gabriel Jakubian of Lancaster, New York, be and hereby appointed the full-time position of public safety dispatcher in the Town of Lancaster Police Department at an annual salary of $46,160 on step, which represents 75% of the full salary of $61,550, contingent upon approval by the Erie County Department of Personnel, effective May 3rd, 2022, and that such appointment shall be subject to all applicable provisions of the collective negotiation agreement between the Town of Lancaster and the Lancaster Dispatch Employee Association and all applicable provisions of the law. Be it further resolved that the supervisor of the Town of Lancaster shall be authorized to take all necessary action to implement the foregoing. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes, is Gabriel with us tonight? Congratulations. Best of luck. You are joining one of the finest police departments in the county of Erie, and I'd say in the whole state of New York. Okay, we're going to move on to resolution number 9, and 10 and 11, or actually 9 through 13 are Councilmember Mazur's. So it's your show.
Thank you. Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, offer the following resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster has held a public hearing on April 4th, 2022 pursuant to Chapter 400 zoning, Article 14 administration enforcement, Section 400-78 special use permits of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, and upon the application of Isaac Barnhill, licensing coordinator for 7-Eleven Incorporated, for a special use permit to operate a convenience store with a gas station and car wash on the premises located at 4949 Transit Road in the Town of Lancaster, Erie County, New York. And whereas persons for and against such special use have had an opportunity to be heard, and whereas Matt Fischone, the code enforcement officer, has recommended provisional approval of the special use permit by the letter dated March 10th, 2022. Now therefore be resolved pursuant to Chapter 400 zoning, Article 5, Commercial District, Section 18, General Commercial Permitted Uses of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, the Town Board, the Town of Lancaster does hereby grant a special use permit to Isaac Barnhill, licensing coordinator, 7-Eleven, to operate a convenience store with gas station and car wash on the premises located at 4949 Transit Road in the Town of Lancaster, New York, upon the conditions set forth in the zoning ordinance for the period beginning April 18th, 2022, and ending April 17th, 2023. And the applicant will continue in compliance with conditions set forth in Section 400-18 General Commercial District, 419 supplementary regulations for L1 and GC District, and Section 478 special use permits of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, to any additional conditions listed herein, as long as the applicant continues to engage in the occupation listed above on the premises, namely, A, permit must be renewed every year at no additional cost to the applicant. Renewal request is considered upon the property owner submitting a written request to the town clerk on or before April 17, 2023. And B, applicant will authorize representatives from the building inspector's office to enter the premises upon reasonable notice to inspect the premises to verify compliance with this permit.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes.
Resolution number 10, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas Donald Carpenter, on behalf of Dish Wireless, has submitted an application for a special use permit for a telecommunications tower, co-location of antennas and ancillary telecommunications equipment for a new carrier to be placed on the current tower located at Mohawk Place, SBL 104.08-4-25, which will be identified as Dish Wireless LLC Site ID SYS-YR00254A in the Town of Lancaster, and whereas Chapter 400 zoning, Article 14 administration enforcement, Section 400-78 special use permits of the Code of Town of Lancaster requires that the Town Board conduct a public hearing before the issuance of a special use permit for the use as proposed. Now therefore it be it resolved that pursuant to Section 478 of the zoning code of the Town of Lancaster, a public hearing on the proposed special use permit for the telecommunications tower, co-location of antennas and ancillary telecommunications equipment for a new carrier to be placed at the current tower located at Mohawk Place, which will be identified as Dish Wireless LLC Site SYS-YR00254A in the Town of Lancaster, New York, will be held at Town Hall, 21 Central Avenue, Lancaster, New York, on the second day of May 2022 at 7:15 p.m. local time, and the notice of said time and place of such hearing be published in an official newspaper of general circulation in the town and be posted on the town bulletin board, and that a copy of such notice of hearing be referred to the Erie County Department of Planning pursuant to Section 239M of the General Municipal Code, which notice shall be in the form attached hereto and made part hereof.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes.
Resolution number 11. Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas the Town of Lancaster Deputy Highway Superintendent Michelle Barbaro, by letter dated April 8, 2022, has advised the Town Board that the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department no longer has use for 7 pallets of Unilock bricks and has requested the town board deem these items to be surplus items and permit them to be placed on an online auction. And whereas the town board has given due consideration to the request by the deputy highway superintendent and deems it judicious decision to declare the beforementioned pallets of bricks to be surplus items and permits placement of said items on an online auction. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby declares the 7 pallets of Unilock bricks to be surplus items and authorizes the Michelle Barbero to place the said items up for a public bid at an online auction with Auctions International, 11167 Big Tree Road, East Aurora, New York, commencing April 21st, 2022, and concluding on May 5th, 2022, with the funds received from the auction to be made payable to the town of Lancaster and delivered to the supervisor's office.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes.
Resolution number 12, whereas the town of Lancaster Deputy Highway Superintendent Michelle Barbaro, by letter dated April 8th, 2022, has advised the town board that the Parks and Recreation and Forestry Department is in possession of old landline town phones that no longer have any use or value since the phone system was upgraded townwide, and requested that the town board deem these items to be surplus equipment. And whereas the Deputy Highway Superintendent would like to dispose of these phones as scrap since they are outdated and parts are no longer available. And whereas the town board has given the due consideration to the request of Michelle Barbaro and deems it judicious to declare the beforementioned landline telephones to be deemed surplus equipment. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby declares the beforementioned town landline telephones to be surplus equipment and authorizes Michelle Barbaro to dispose of these items by scrapping them as they are outdated and parts no longer available.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes.
Resolution number 13. Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer this following resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas on August 19th, 2019, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster approved a site plan submitted by Chris Wood on behalf of George Pepis for the construction of 2 4-unit and 1 5-unit apartments to be known as Theo's Place, Apartments 5153 Transit Road in the Town of Lancaster. Whereas due to economic hardships caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, construction was not started within the 2-year time period, and George Pepis has now requested the town board grant an extension to the site plan approval, which was revoked on August 19, 2021, per Town Code Section 475D9. And whereas the Town Code of Section 400-75D9 also provides that town board may grant an extension of the 2-year time limitation for commencement of a development from the date of approval. And whereas the town board has given the due review and consideration to the request of the extension. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster, using the authority granted in section 475D9, does hereby grant a 1-year extension to the 2-year statutory approval of the site plan previously granted to Chris Wood on behalf of George Pepis for the construction of 2 4-unit and 1 5-unit apartment to be known as Theo's Place, Apartment 5153 Transit Road in the town of Lancaster, to commence August 19, 2021 and terminate August 19, 2022 with the following conditions. Number 1, contract to provide an as-built survey of the building department prior to a certificate of compliance or occupancy being issued. 2, private improvement permits will be required to initiate site construction. And 3, no further extension will be granted beyond August 19, 2022.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question?
I do have a question. Did we have to do any kind of a new seeker or anything on this area, on this property?
No, there was no changes to the project.
Okay, how long ago was the project approved again?
I believe it was in 2019.
Things don't change over a, 3-year period?
Scope of the project hasn't changed.
No new traffic studies, nothing? Okay. Yeah, I just don't think this is a good way to proceed, so I'll use my vote of no. Thank you.
On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
No.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 14, and this resolves that the resolution adopted on January 4th, 2021, allocating $5,000 funding to the Village of Lancaster for the purpose of defraying the expenses. 2022? No, okay. Connected with their sponsor, Taste of Lancaster, and the observance of Independence Day events, be amended to read that the sum of $5,000 be allocated thusly for the purpose of defraying the expenses associated with Independence Day observance, $2,500, Fall Festival, $1,250, and New Year's Eve Ball Drop, $1,250, events sponsored by the Village of Lancaster, which shall be expended upon properly itemized and audited vouchers being submitted for each event. Be it further resolved that should the Village of Lancaster change the events being offered, prior notice must be provided to the Town of Lancaster for review and consideration. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes, Councilmember Burkhardt, you have number 15.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members. I am offering resolution number 15 for adoption. Whereas by memo dated April 4th, 2022, Ed Schiller, the Town of Lancaster's consulting engineer, has requested that the town board authorize an invitation to bid for the installation of new fencing and gates at the Town of Lancaster Police Department's impound area. And whereas the town board has given due review and consideration to the request and deems it in the public interest to invite public bids in conformance with General Municipal Law, Section 103 of the State of New York. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the Town of Lancaster hereby invites public bid for the installation of fencing and gates at the Lancaster Police Department's impound area. Said bids are to be in conformance with the plans and specifications which are available at the office of William Shutt Associates, P.C., 37 Avenue, Lancaster, New York, 14086, and to be received in the office of the town clerk, Central Avenue, Lancaster, New York, no later than 10 a.m. local time on May 5th, 2022, and open thereafter.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes, and actually, number 16 is mine, there was an error. I'd like to move resolution number 16, whereas the Town of Lancaster desires to receive proposals from energy supply companies, ESCOs, for the implementation of energy conservation measures on a performing contract basis for the town-owned facilities. And whereas the Town Board of Town of Lancaster deems it judicious decision to issue an RFP, request for proposals, to solicit responses from qualified ESCOs to enter into a contract for a comprehensive program which will reduce the cost and upgrade facilities in identified town buildings. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Lancaster hereby request proposals from ESCOs to provide for the implementation of energy conservation measures on a performance contracting basis for town-owned facilities. A complete RFP will be available on April 19th, 2022, at the Town of Lancaster's office of the Town Clerk, 21 Central Avenue. All proposals for consideration must be hand-delivered to the office of the Town Clerk here at 21 Central Avenue, no later than 10 a.m. local time on May 20th, 2022. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes, I'd like to point out that just by doing this RFP, there is no cost to the town at all. So we're doing due diligence on looking at our buildings and the company that is selected. There'll be no cost. We'll just get a report on what they feel the upgrades have to be. Councilmember Burkhardt, you have the last one, number 17.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members. I'm offering resolution number 17 for adoption. Whereas on December 5th, 2011, the Town of Lancaster entered into an agreement with Wendell W.D. Architecture, Engineering, Surveying, and Landscape Architecture, P.C. Wendell, to provide professional services which include upgrades to the town's functional geographic information system, GIS, for the development of implementation of ArcGIS Server Web Mapping Application, WMA, integration and update of culvert layer, drainage analysis, and GIS technical support and training. And whereas the contract with Wendell to provide annual GIS web map application hosting and ArcGIS online administrative and GIS GPS support services for the Town of Lancaster's GIS program has expired per its contract terms. And whereas by letter dated March 28, 2022, Highway Superintendent John Pilato has requested that the town renew said agreement with Wendell for ArcGIS online administrative and GIS GPS support services and GIS web map application hosting services as included in the software subscription agreement for the 2022 calendar year. And whereas the 2022 Wendell's cost for ArcGIS online administrative and GIS GPS support services is $4,000, and the cost for GIS web map application hosting is $4,400 per Wendell's proposal, date January 24th, 2022, with a revision date of March 11th, 2022. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby authorizes the Town Supervisor to execute the renewal agreement for the 2022 calendar year between the Town of Lancaster and Wendell to provide the Town of Lancaster's Highway Department professional GIS support services, which includes ArcGIS, online administrative and GIS GPS support services, and GIS web map application hosting services, for an amount not to exceed $8,400, which will be paid with funds available in the town's 2022 Highway Department's drainage, contractual expenses, professional services budget, line item 01-854-0451.
May I have a second
Second.
on the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. We're going to move on to communications, whenever you're ready.
Got it.
Okay, so 236 through 238, Planning Committee. 239 and 240 received and filed. 241, Planning Committee. 242 received and filed. 243 for resolution. 244 through 246 received and filed. 247 and 248 is resolution tonight. 249 through 251 are received and filed. 252 and 253, resolution tonight. 254, Planning Committee. 255 through 257, resolution tonight. And then 258 through 262, received and filed. Come to the point in the meeting where anybody could comment to the town board about any subject matter they like. You have a 5-minute time limit. Mark, would you mind keeping the time limit for us? Sure. Appreciate it, thank you. Please raise your hand, I will address it, and then you can come up and give your name and address. Anybody like to speak? For a second time?
Excuse me. Good evening, I'm Christopher White. My address is 14 Red Line Drive. I'm here just to get some more information and clarification because I've really only heard anything from neighbors and online about the proposed Belmont apartment complex, the public housing that would be built on Harris Hill, from what I found online between Genesee and the 90. So I'm trying to see if that's been approved, if that's still in the planning stages, if surrounding neighborhoods are going to be surveyed about it. Just some general information. Didn't know if anybody on the board was a part of that or if that's still in the planning stages or not.
It's way too early.
It's way too. That's what I figured. I haven't seen much online. I figured I'd ask because I haven't. Somebody just sent me a link to something in October, so I figured it was a little further along.
They did meet with us today in
Give us a presentation.
presentation.
Oh, okay, but there will be time. I
Oh, there's,
assume,
yeah,
at-
this is at the beginning stages.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you very much. That answers my question.
You're welcome. Anybody else like to speak? And for a third time? Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session.
May I have a second?
Second?
On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Dickman?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Thank you for attending. For all those that celebrate Dingus Day, happy Dingus Day to you.
Yeah, submitted.
Chief? Chief, you want that letter now? I'll go get it?
Still with the floor, but I think
Yeah, I'll run real quick and get it first. You don't have to-